welcome online from wherever you might be, from Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia. Fantastic. Let me know if you can hear me okay, and then we'll kick off ASAP. Okay, loud and clear, lovely, fantastic. Yeah, let me know where you're calling in from. Oh, Nepal. Oh, namaste to Nepal, Cambodia, Morocco, Indonesia. Fantastic. Actually, seeing someone from Nepal there, just to sort of kick off, we're going to have a look at pre-primary today. Actually, sort of started my my pre-primary teaching in Nepal with 120 students in one class, which may be quite relevant for today's classroom management. Obviously, I failed very badly, but over time got better and better. So welcome actually to the last of this series of Sharing is Learning spring webinars. So we've had, I think, four sessions already. So this is our final session today. So thanks for coming back and joining. For those of you that don't know us, my name is John. I work for Macmillan Education as a teacher trainer. So Macmillan, we've been helping to advance learning for over 175 years. We work in ELT, language learning, so books for pre-primary, primary, secondary, young adults, as well as curriculum, so literacy, phonics, math, science, as well as study skills and other areas of higher education. So just before we kick off, let me know how you're feeling today. So how do you feel today? Let me know your general feeling. Did you wake up in a good mood, bad mood? Often our students come in with different moods, right? So we need to be aware of how they're feeling. So if some of you are feeling great, okay, fresh, hungry but happy, okay, lovely, lovely. And what is the weather like with you there today? So I'm British, I'm English. We love to talk about the weather. So what's the weather like where you are today? It's pretty cloudy and hot here. Hot and sunny in Surabaya. Wonderful. Hello in Indonesia. Sunny. Wow, it's a sunny day. Wonderful. So thanks for joining. And finally, what do you want to do today? So we're going to be having a look at pre-primary, particularly classroom management. But what about you individually? You want to learn today? You want to think a little bit deeper about classroom management? You want to sing a few songs? You want to share your ideas or maybe another? What do you want to do in this session today? Okay. Oh, Buddy. Hi, Buddy. Yeah, learn and think. Okay. Oh, Pokhara, Nepal. Fantastic. Philippines. So learning, having fun. Okay. Giving inspiration. Wonderful. Okay, so hopefully we'll have all of those in today's session. So today we're going to have a look at classroom management, particularly for the very young learners. A lot of the content as well will be very relevant for sort of low primary as well, and maybe for your adult learners as well. Who knows? So we're going to have a look at classroom management at your fingertips. So we're going to define a little bit what classroom management is, what it means to have classroom management at your fingertips, and then there'll be lots of practical tips and activities for you to take away. I think firstly it's important to state that classroom management, particularly for pre-primary teachers, is still, I would say, the #1 challenge for all of us. And there are so many key elements or key areas of classroom management for us to think about. And sometimes without good or effective classroom management, it's very hard for us to achieve our objectives and our goals. So this was a survey actually we took last year here in China with a couple of hundred teachers, and as you can see there, classroom management came top of the list. And I'm sure classroom management maybe for you near the top there as well. But again, it's hard to sometimes define. It's a very broad concept, classroom management. So we'll do our best today to maybe narrow down to some of the core key elements and then address those. But what about you? So what are some of your classroom management challenges? So hopefully you joined today, maybe because the classroom management is an issue for you and you want to learn some new strategies or techniques. But what about for you? What are your classroom management challenges? Feel free to share. So large numbers, okay, mixed abilities, challenging students. They're often silent, yeah, at low levels, absolutely. Big populations, all right. Okay, so lots of different areas there. So we're going to have a look today at how we can get classroom management at your fingertips. So what do we mean by having something at your fingertips? So a couple of definitions here. So something that is near you or readily available for you to use immediately, for example, in the classroom. Okay, so having all those classroom management strategies, tools maybe ready for use. But also it's having that subject knowledge, a thorough knowledge of classroom management, and being able to give or pass on useful information. Potentially, if you're a senior teacher or academic manager, pass that on to your teachers. But also, if you're a teacher, sharing that knowledge with inside your community of teachers. Okay. So we're going to have a look at developing that knowledge today so that we can have it with us and use immediately. Just very briefly, it's good to just refresh about classroom management, and this is what I call the wheel of knowledge, okay, the wheel of knowledge classroom management. So here are some of the key principles or elements. We may be able to add a few more to this wheel as we go through. But in general, classroom management will consist of practices, rules, and procedures. So today we'll have a look at some key procedures that we can use in our classes to help manage our very young learners. Classroom management requires effective and engaging teaching. So we'll look at some ideas to engage our learners. Some of you said your students are quiet, they're silent. So how we can engage those students, get them speaking maybe. Often we spend a lot of our time and effort and energy trying to reduce disruptive and inappropriate behavior. So we'll have a look at today how through our strategies, our activities, we can minimize this issue, how we can reinforce positive behavior as well, not always looking at the bad or the negative, but how we can create a positive environment, a positive learning environment with positive behavior management, and then setting and reviewing expectations, so maybe behavior expectations, for example, with our students. So here are some of the sort of core elements, and maybe a lot of those issues you told me will fit under each of these different elements of our knowledge wheel here. So often as teachers, we don't get a lot of recognition, and we have a very tough job. We have to go into classrooms, work long days. We prepare a lot. We use a lot of our energy. But often it's quite rare for us to get a pat on the back, especially from our students, right? It can be very much a thankless task sometimes. So it's great sometimes, maybe if your director of studies or your head, or even from the students, tell you that you're doing a good job. So hopefully today, with the ideas that I'll give you, hopefully you'll be able to get a pat on the back from whoever comes to watch your class, or even from your students as well. So a pat on the back. So PAT today is an acronym actually for our agenda. So we're going to have a look at procedures to help manage our class, different activities, and we'll have a look at how we can manage activities, okay? Dig a little bit deeper into the kind of activities that we're doing and how we can manage them effectively with everything going around in our crazy young learner classroom. And obviously we'll talk about some different tools as well that will help us with our classroom management. Actually, I'm going to add one more area. So actually, we're going to have multiple pats on the back, hopefully today. I'm going to add a little area called self-management. So how actually we can work with students, especially the very, very young learners, help them to develop a little bit of self-management over time. Okay, that will sort of help with the classroom management in your classroom. But also for you to help self-manage yourself, particularly with very young learners. It can be very exhausting, I think, to teach very young learners. So how we can manage ourselves and make sure we as teachers are okay as well. Okay. All right. So let's jump in then with our first area. We're going to have a look at procedures. So let's define what we mean by a procedure. We're going to use procedures to help us feel safe, maybe guide ourselves with our lessons, to help us feel safe, comfortable, to help us manage our classes. So procedures are a way of doing something, okay, especially the correct or usual way. And it could also refer to a medical operation that is done in a particular way, okay? Hopefully none of you are doing medical operations in your classroom. So let's have a look at some different ways of doing things to help us feel comfortable, guide our students through the process to help us manage our classes. And with procedures, we are going to have a look at lesson plans, different sort of procedures or steps in lesson plans. We're going to have a look at an area called learning routines, okay? You'll hear a lot, right, with very young learners and young learners, routine, routine, routine. So important for training our learners. And also we'll have a quick look at something called learner reviews, a procedure at the end of a class, and how we might manage that. So in terms of lesson plans, I mean, something that's that I find very interesting with very young learners is when we look at a page from a lesson of a pre-primary course book, for example. So here we have a lesson about the body here. And sometimes all you can see on the page is maybe some people. So here we have two kids doing some physical actions. We may have some icons there at the bottom which show us what kind of activities we'll be doing. For example, maybe listen and say, listen and point, listen and draw, sing a song. But actually there's no words or anything on the page. And some teachers don't always feel so comfortable when they see a page like that and what to do with a page like that. So we're going to have a look at some different procedures, some different steps to help us feel more comfortable. But in general, a lesson plan is there to help guide us as teachers, help guide students through the lesson in a nice, safe way. It helps us see the objective, helps us meet that objective by the end of the class. It helps us think about additional resources. For pre-primary, we need so many additional resources, right, to keep our learners engaged. But also lesson plans help us think about those individual learners and their needs. So, for example, we might think about fast finishes or extension activities for those that finish particular class quickly. Lesson plans may help us think about particular individual learners who have certain social skills or weaknesses. Maybe they don't work well in groups. So maybe we might get some nice group or collaborative activities to help those students. So a lesson plan can be very, very useful for us as teachers. And depending on your experience, so some experienced teachers, they love that kind of, how to say, flexibility of just having a very simple page to work from, and then they can use their own ideas. But for some of us, if you don't feel so confident or maybe more inexperienced, it's great to have a structure to guide and follow. So So for that page of the student book, we might have a lesson plan like here. So we have the goals or learning objectives at the top, the materials that we need. We have the additional resources, for example, activity book there, maybe digital resources in there as well. We have a procedure there as well. If you can, it's a little bit small, but I'll come on to this a bit later. So circle time, table time, closing time, a nice procedure. Each part of the procedure has different activities to follow as well. Okay. So some of us will use sort of lesson plans like this more than others. Okay, some of us like that flexibility. But what those lesson plans would do would be to give us that safety for us as teachers, but also for students. Very young learners, they love that comfort, that safety of set routines, okay, over time, and which can be developed, adjusted and extended over time as well. So as teachers, we don't always think about us feeling safe. We need to think about what will suit our learners as well. And safety and routine is very, very important to them. But of course, inside that lesson plan, as I mentioned, it's good to be flexible, bring your own creativity, your own ideas in as well. So let's have a look at those different procedures in terms of a lesson plan. So many of you would start a lesson with something called circle time. You may have a different name for it depending on where you are teaching, but many very young learner classes will start with circle time. So this is an opportunity to set the lesson aims with our students, a time to focus attention, get them tuning in into the English language, get the behavior right at the start of the class. Also an opportunity to review recycling, a very key component of working with very young learners. They'll learn very quickly, they'll mimic, imitate, but it'll go out very quickly. So constant review, recycling at the start of every lesson, very, very important. And this circle time will also give us an opportunity to input the new learning for the lesson as well, whether a little structure, maybe key vocab for the lesson. Now, in terms of circle time, there are a variety of different activities that we can do during circle time. So what you'll probably find is that you might have 6, 7, 8, even 9, 10 different types of activities that you could do during circle time. Why we may have so many, obviously young learners get bored very quickly. So it's often very good to have more short interactive activities to keep them engaged, keep things moving quickly, to keep holding their attention. So we might have a hello song at the start. We may use a little puppet at the start as well. And I'm going to show you some activities to help manage learners with the puppet a little bit later. So this is Sparky. So good morning to Sparky, and we'll see him a little bit later. So we might use him during circle time to say hello to students, to introduce the new language for the lesson. We may have some opening routines. We have some recycling activities, lesson aims, introduce the new language. So here, new body parts, maybe introduce a new structure. So I can you, and then a game to practice that new language. So here, repeat if true. So actually there's loads and loads of activities, short, concise activities while we have them in a circle. Now, a few little tips here for circle time to keep our classroom management strong, keep our students focused, keep things moving along at a nice pace. So as I mentioned, so having short, sharp activities, plan for more activities. If you don't do them all, it's okay, but always plan for more and make it as interactive as you can. And I'll show you some ideas a little bit later about how you can make that circle time more interactive. Think about different classes and every circle time for each class for sure will be a little bit different. So for example, class 1A and class 1B, the circle time you do with them may be very different. You may have very different characters, different behaviors in each of those classes. So you may need to be very responsive to each of those different classes, okay? But where you can, routine, 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 especially at the start of the year, have a set routine for your circle time. They'll pick that up very, very quickly. And hopefully, actually, over time, the stronger students will be able to take more charge of their learning in that circle time. Add movement to that circle time as much as you can. Have routine songs there, okay? Some physical activities to break things up, keep them moving. Get visual with posters, with puppets, with flashcards, whatever you like to use. Keep it visual as well. Don't let them sit too long without any stimulation, okay? Otherwise, you will lose them very, very quickly. But also one other point to add here is, how do you get them into that circle time? How do you manage or get them into the circle time at the start? So have a little routine for getting them focused, getting them into a circle. So for example, I would have a little song. It was called a ring a roses. Okay, so it was a ring a roses, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down. So we would dance around, we would hold hands, we would dance around in a circle. When you say a tissue, you would all fall down, and you'd be falling down, sitting in a circle, and then boom, you would start your circle time. Okay. So again, some students will come into your circle very quickly, very automatically. Some may come into the class a bit sad, a bit emotional. They may take a bit of time. So when you're singing that song, sing it 2 or 3 times. Give an opportunity for all the students to get into the circle. For those that are not in the circle, they can see the others having fun, and then slowly, slowly they'll drift hopefully into that circle. Sing that chant a few times, a tissue, fall down. When everyone's ready, you're sitting in a circle and get ready to go. Okay? So after circle time, you'll then most likely move on to something we call table time. So this is an opportunity to get your hands on the student book activities, develop some language and skills. You might do this at a table, you might do this on the floor, you might do this in small groups, depends on the setup of your classroom. But if you can have different areas where you can move to help break up the different sections. So circle time in one area, move on to table time, a different area. That'll help break up each section, keep it fresh, keep them engaged. Oh, you said that you're missing your students. Yeah, I'm sure it's very difficult, isn't it? But I'm sure after having them for a few days back in the class, you'll wish you were teaching online again, I'm sure. So with table time, a few tips again. So when we're moving on maybe to the course book, we're moving to the tables, as I mentioned, have a table time area. But also have, like with the circle time, have a predictable transition into table time. So how do you move from circle time into your table time? Have a nice little transition routine. It may be a song that you sing, for example. So there's a nice little train chant you could use. So like a choo-choo, choo-choo. So you would stand up from circle time. You would get the student in the circle next to you to hold maybe the back of your shirt, and get students to hold the back of each other's shirt, form a train, okay? All chanting choo-choo, choo-choo, and then moving around the classroom in a long train, wiggling in and out, and slowly you can drop off the students either at the one table if you're together, or they're different tables. That's a nice little way to transition from circle time to table time, but you may have your own way of doing that. Again, like circle time, when you're working from activities from the book, we'll have a look at some activities a bit later. Make it engaging, make it as hands-on as possible. Kids, when they're sitting in their chairs too long, probably like you now, they'll be wiggling around a little bit. Okay, so keep things engaging, keep it hands-on. If you have digital software, for example, an interactive whiteboard, for example, that could be a great way of breaking things up, okay, playing videos or audios or activities from a digital whiteboard to keep things engaging, for example. I suggest having materials ready as well. So, for example, during circle time or before class, make sure if you've got a teaching assistant, for example, make sure before you move to your table time, have the books ready. Excuse me, have the books ready, have the resources ready, for example, to save you time. If students get to the table and you haven't prepared something and you're trying to find the worksheets or the books, you lose your students very, very quickly. Okay, so transition to table time, you have the materials ready, boom, you move straight into next activity. Okay. Developing the correct behaviors as well. So over time, we can help train or coach our very young learners with the correct behaviors that you want them to have during table time activities. And we'll come on to that a little bit later as well, about how we might do that. And then finally, with table time, think about active and passive. So you might have a class first thing in the morning, you might have a class first thing after lunch. Those classes will be very different dynamic, right? Because the students will probably be feeling very different. In the morning, they're quite high energy. After lunch, maybe they're a bit sleepy and tired. So having a balance of maybe active or up activities, get them moving around, for example, and then some passive, so some downtime, individual activities, just to help them collect their thoughts, a little bit of quiet individual time. So having that balance and being flexible to use those different up and down activities when you see is right. There's no correct time for using different types of activities. It's by feel, it's by response. So seeing how the students are and then respond to how they are feeling. In terms of correct behaviors, so here's one idea. So when you're working in table time or working from the book, for example, here's one idea. So this one I took from a lovely teacher in the US, and she was talking about green choices and red choices. So the green choices are the good, positive behaviors that she wants to see from her students. And over time, she will work with her students to try and develop those green choices. She also has a red choices poster. So these are kind of bad choices from students. So behaviors that she doesn't want to see, or behaviors she wants to try and slowly get out of the classroom. And having these lovely visible visual posters of green and red can really help the teacher maybe point out to students kind of behaviors that they are looking for in a good way, and which ones they're trying to kick out. All right. And to make things easy, sometimes it's difficult as a teacher if you're moving around the table or working from the book, you're seeing the bad behaviors. It's maybe difficult then to maybe get up, walk over to the poster. It takes a bit of time. So this teacher had a little green choice necklace. So for that class, she had maybe 5 to 10 of good green choices that she wanted to see. And if she saw a red choice happening on the table, she would just very quickly turn to the correct behavior, point to it on her necklace so the students could see the visual green behavior that she wanted to help them realize that maybe the behavior they were doing was not correct, and the one the teacher was showing them was the one that they should be doing. All right. To reinforce it here, the teacher here stuck with some sticky or some Velcro on the different pencil cases, maybe 2 key behaviors for this class that she wanted. So on each of their pencil cases, she stuck take turns and use materials safely. So maybe this was a project lesson, and these 2 behaviors were the 2 key behaviors she wanted to focus on today. And because they had them on their pencil cases, it was visual, they could see them, and then they would work on them throughout that lesson. So after table time, we'll then move to a closing time. So we've got circle time, table time, closing time. And that'll be an opportunity for a learning review, some reflection, and then, as we mentioned, routine, having a closing routine to make sure we leave the class in the right mindset. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit about learning review and a closing routine a little bit later. Okay. So we looked at a lesson plan. Let's now have a look at learning routines. So these are very, very important for us as teachers, to train our students, but also to help them feel comfortable as well. So learning routines, they are procedures or patterns of behavior that we use regularly. Okay, so each class, and we can build up and develop these routines over time. Okay. So here's a list of learning routines, and maybe you can tell me in the chat box which of these activities or stages of a lesson do you have a routine for? Let me know, which ones do you have a routine for? So for greeting a child, all of them, fantastic. Okay, hopefully I'll give you some other ideas then, which will help you. Okay, brilliant. So actually there are so many. And if you've already got them set up in your classroom, fantastic. That's great. But in terms of our learning routines, at the start, we did one at the start. So this is the poster that a teacher would use. So this one actually comes with a course, this course, pre-primary course called Ferris Wheel. So again, at the start of the class, it's a little routine that they can go through to develop their language. And each lesson, you can maybe extend this depending on the language that they have been learning over the past few weeks. So feelings, weather, greetings, days of the week, etc., etc. And you might want to expand on that, extend on that as you go through your course. But one little thing you might do is that the teacher, you might start off leading this, and over time you can get the stronger students to be the teacher, take the role of the teacher, and then they can guide the students through these different areas of the routine. So again, it's all about sort of self-management or learner autonomy, giving or handing over the power to the students a little bit. Pick 1 or 2 students each time to become the teacher to do it for you. Okay, nice little tip there if you're not doing that already. You may have routine songs, a brilliant way to help students understand what kind of activity is coming next. So for example, a hello song at the start of the class, bye-bye song at the end of the class. You may have a circle time chant. This will signal that it's time for circle time. Okay, or a table time train chant, which I told you about. So transition from circle time to train time, cleanup song, etc., etc. Brilliant to have at your fingertips, right? That you can just play that chant and students will know it's time to transition to a different activity. And just a few, this one is from the Ferris wheel course. So all those learning routine chants come with the audio script there. So you got the chants there, the table time train chant, the circle time, sit down, cross your legs, hands together, just like me, ready to learn, ready to play. Let's start our lesson, 1, 2, 3. So each will come with a little audio track and a script there to guide through. And over time, you can work with your students to develop their language through those chants as well. Few tips for learning routines. So some of you said you already have lots of your learning routines set up, okay? But maybe for each lesson, you might decide on a few learning routines for that specific lesson. So decide on your learning routine for that lesson, and then plan the procedure for that routine. It's good to think about each routine a little bit deeper, stages for each routine, so you can refresh, you know what you're doing. So for example, at the start of the class, you might have a little routine at circle time where you may have a little bag. Oh, yeah, look, Macmillan Education bag there, look. You may have a little bag, and inside the bag, what's inside the bag? What's inside the bag, do you think? What do you think? Tell me, what do you think's inside the bag? Did you see? Can you remember from last lesson? Could be toys, could be books. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. It's Sparky. Okay, say hello, Sparky. Okay, everyone says hello, Sparky. And then you can say good morning to each of the kids. So that may be a little routine you have at the start of the class. They know it's coming, okay? They can't wait to say hi to Sparky. But think about some classes mixing it up, have something different in the bag as a little surprise for the kids. But repeat that process over the 1, 2, 3, 4 lessons, and over time you can adjust that procedure and extend the language over time, okay? But make sure the resources that you use are very easy access, have them near you in the classroom to keep things flowing, all right? And just to point out that repetition, if you do things over and over again, it doesn't always equal boring, right? It may seem boring to you as a teacher, but for students, they will love it, okay? They will love it because they feel safe, they know what's coming, okay? They can shout out what's coming next, and they will feel good, all right? So the final area of procedures is learning reviews. Okay, so something that we can do at the end of the class. So before class, we can understand the aim and purpose of the lesson. We can explain that very briefly to students. We do the lesson, and then after we can encourage them to come back and think about what was achieved. So we might establish the aims. And what I suggest at the start of the class, use your puppet, for example, very sort of simple, child-friendly way to introduce your aims. So today, we're going to listen and watch, okay? Listen and watch a story about Mimi and Dylan, okay? And after, we're going to play a game, okay? So listen, watch, and play a game, okay? So get them to understand. They can maybe repeat back those instructions, use the puppet to set those lesson aims. Keep your language very, very simple, very, very visual, all right? And at the end of the class, think about having a little review about what was learned. So maybe in English for higher levels, maybe in a native language or a mix. Refer back to those aims. You can ask them what we did first, what did we do second, what did we do last. You can ask further questions about those activities. You can ask for personal views. So did you like the first activity? Did you like the game? Why not? Encourage slightly more developed answer from the students. Again, for very low levels, that may be done in native language. okay? And then focus on their achievements. So what do we achieve today? Help them leave the class with a sense of achievement, go home and encourage them to show off their progress to their parents. Let's move now on to activities. So we looked at procedures. Let's have a look at some ideas for activities. So let's think about planning or managing the individuals. Let's also think about developing or managing cooperative learning in the class, so group activities, and then also setting up learning stations for different activities and how we can manage that as part of our overall classroom management. So when we look at lesson plans, sometimes when we plan our lessons, we will often plan for a whole class, right? But often it's good to step back and think about the individuals in the class and their individual needs. So one idea, this one I took from actually a teacher in Indonesia. So this is class 1A, and they've got on their teacher's desk, they've got all their students in their class, okay? And each lesson, they will move the dial to a different student. So this student today is Hung. Okay, sounds like a very Vietnamese name, doesn't it? Okay, Hung. So in this class, or for one activity in this class, the teacher will think about Hung and plan this activity while thinking about Hung. So Hung maybe is a little bit shy, doesn't like to share, doesn't like to work in groups. She's not very good at cooperative learning or working on projects, for example. So for this project lesson, I'm going to plan for Hung. Next lesson, turn one more, plan a lesson for the next student. Okay, in this way, you can really start tapping into individual student needs as well. So think about who you're planning for this activity. What is the activity? How is it trying to develop that student? Or what weakness or challenge is it trying to overcome? Okay, why are you doing this activity? So for example, thinking about Hung there in that class, I'm going to plan this little project lesson while thinking about Hung in my mind. Okay, I'm not going to forget all the students, but I'm going to think about Hung and some of her challenges. So really working together, sharing, and then cooperative learning. Okay, so at the start of this project, we have to identify the different materials that they need. So we're going to group them, and they're going to identify the different items they need. So in their groups, they're going to work together. They're going to point and say the different items together in their book, okay, that they need for their project. We're going to encourage the children to work together to gather the materials. So we might give each student in a group a different color. So for example, you might say, okay, red students, come and collect the glue. Okay, so all the groups, who's red, oh, you're red, go, 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 go. Set a time challenge, maybe 10 seconds. All the red students must come up, get the glue, run back to the students, put it on the table to share. Okay, green students, come and get the sellotape. Okay, who's green? You're green, go, 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 go. The green student comes up, it comes back. So it's like a team effort, okay, a team effort to come and collect all the resources before they start, okay? And then once the task is complete, you could help them organize the materials on the table. Okay, they share the materials on the table, and then do a similar activity for putting the materials away. Okay, you may play a tidy up chant, and the aim here is that they cooperate to get all the materials back to the right place. Again, maybe a time challenge for them. Again, maybe give them a color roll to get the materials back. But this way, Hung is working with her group. Okay, they're sharing the resources, but they're working together to get and put the resources back. Okay, so think about Hung for that lesson. Other ways that you may introduce cooperative learning into your classroom. Again, teaching students to work together, to share, to work with the partner, to create a positive atmosphere. okay? And where you can, think about how you can turn individual activities into cooperative learning. Okay, you may think about here pairing them up randomly. You may think about pairing stronger students with weaker students so the strong student can support the weaker student, particularly those who are not ready to speak out. You may give them a strong student to pair with, then that stronger one can do all the speaking and maybe encourage that student over time to speak out. Okay. A few ideas for cooperative learning. Before you do cooperative learning, maybe in a project or a group task, play a chant. Have a little cooperative learning chant. So here's one I've taken from Ferris Wheel. So let's work together. Let's cooperate. I help you. You help me. It's great. It's great. Okay. A little chant they can learn over time to help them realize that it's cooperation time. They're going to work together. Again, during this time, they can hold hands in a circle while they're singing this chant. In terms of encouraging cooperative learning, another activity here, you can pair children up. So when you're doing flashcard activity or introducing new vocabulary, maybe you have 4 flashcards on the board, put them in pairs or groups first. Okay, you can number the flashcards, okay? And you might say, what's number 1? 3, 2, 1, pair, or 3, 2, 1, group. And they have to tell each other in the pair or the group first what is flashcard number 1 before they shout out the answer. If they shout out the answer, don't accept, okay? Oh, no, pair, 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 okay? So you do a pair first and then 3, 2, 1, share as a whole class, okay? So encourage first to pair or group first before sharing with the whole class. This will help encourage more working together. Likewise, think about moving, let's skip through that one, moving individual activities or individual games to cooperative games. So often teachers love to play like slap the board. They have like 4 lines. They call out a flashcard. One student from each line runs up and has to slap the correct one. But in that activity, only 4 students are involved, right? So the other students are not involved, and that leads maybe to misbehavior or loss of concentration. So think about forming circles of groups of students. Number each children in the group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put the flashcards on a row. Say a flashcard. For example, it's a dog, okay? Encourage students to huddle, okay? Huddle together. Which one is the dog? Which one? Point, point, point. Which one? The strong ones can help the weak ones. Then you call a number. That student walks out. They don't have to run. They walk out and stand by the correct flashcard. If they're wrong, their group can help them. I say, no, this one, okay? And that will help them cooperate together, okay? When they return to the group, you can encourage them to use positive phrases like, good job, well done, thanks for your help, okay? Encourage this kind of cooperative learning behavior, okay? And finally, on activities, think about different activities. And in terms of managing the processes, think about setting up different stations. So we talked about circle time. So maybe circle time, which setup or which station might circle time be? A, B, C, or D? What do you think? So when you have circle time, which station might be for circle time? Okay, good. What about for doing some, for example, some handwriting practice or some basic literacy skills or fine motor skills? Which one do you think for fine motor skill development? I think maybe B, when they're sort of sitting down, maybe working or tracing. It could be C. Sorry, it could be C, right? What about maybe for a fast finisher? So one student who's a fast finisher may go and play an extra activity. Which one might that one be? So if you have a fast finisher, it could be D. They could go and do an activity at D, or maybe a little digital activity on B. So, but the point is here that you have different stations for different activities, and you can work around different stations for different types of activity at different points in your classroom. Okay, over time you can lead up and have students working independently on different stations. That'll take a little bit more time, but think about having different stations for different types of activity. All right. And finally today, we're going to have a look at some tools. So the final sort of 5-10 minutes, some different tools to help us manage our students. So we've got our puppets. We've got something called a learning mat there. And those of you that are lucky enough to have some digital tools as well, these are great to help us manage and gauge our students. All right. So let's have a look at using our puppets. So I've got Sparky with me today. The one in the picture, that's Mimi. So Mimi is a puppet that comes with the Ferris wheel series that you can see behind me. Okay. And lots of different activities we can use puppets to help manage our students, particularly to keep them engaged throughout circle time, for example. So we might have little echo activities. So when we're introducing new language, new vocabulary, we may get students to echo the puppet. So Sparky might say, dog, dog, and our students will echo. So they start very loud, like dog, 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 and get quieter and quieter. Next one, what's that, Sparky? Cat, cat. And the students will echo, cat, 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 cat. So using the puppet to introduce the new language. You can also pass the puppet. So get their hands on the puppet during circle time. Play a circle time chant. As you play the chant, the students will pass the puppet around the circle. When you pause the chant, the student holding the puppet must stand up and say what the flashcard is, or all the other students will say, what's your name? And that student will say their name, etc., etc. You can put some flashcards on the board, or you might put a poster up in the classroom and say, Sparky is thinking about something on the board. What's Sparky thinking about? What do you think Sparky is thinking about right now? What do you think? What's Sparky thinking about right now? What do you think? What's he thinking about? Let me know. What do you think? Johnny. How did you guess? Yeah, you think definitely thinking about lunch. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. All right. You can also use the puppet for managing, choosing individual, or today you might need one volunteer to help you. So you might use Sparky to help choose. So in the circle, you point one by one. You go red, yellow, blue, I love you. And that student you point to at you, that'll be your individual student to help you, or be your helper for this activity. Okay. If your students are completely crazy and being really loud, really noisy, maybe when you do the puppet in the bag activity at the start, okay, when you pull out Sparky, you can say, oh, shh, today Sparky's very sleepy. He's very sleepy today, okay? Shh, so don't wake him up, okay? He's very sleepy. And you could put Sparky on the table with a little pillow, a little duvet, show he's sleeping, to show the students they have to be quiet. And you can conduct the circle time in a whisper, okay? That'll help you manage the students a little bit, okay? Right. So there's a few little puppet ideas. Another way to help manage interaction would be through a learning mat. So this is actually a pocket mat that you can stick on the wall, where in each of the different color pocket you can put flashcards or objects. Brilliant way to manage activities, right? Management at your fingertips, exactly. So a few little activities you can do with the learning mats. So you could put flashcards in each of the pockets, and then they have to remember where each flashcard is. So where's the cat? And the students with their partner, they have to think, where's the mat? It's in the red pocket, or it's in the green pocket, okay? And then one student will come up and check the red pocket, and if it's correct, all the students will go, yay, well done, clap, 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 clap. Where's the monkey? And they have to tell their partner, where's the monkey? It's in the yellow pocket, it's in the green pocket. Okay, it's a great way to get them using language, working together, but very easy to manage. You might have a listen and do. So you give each pair a flashcard, or each group a flashcard, and say, okay, this pair, I want you to hop to the blue pocket and put your flashcard in the blue pocket. So the first pair, they hop, hop, hop together to the blue pocket, put the flashcard in the blue pocket. Well done, clap, 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 clap. Okay, next group. So you give them instructions. So nice little way to manage the students with those activities. You can also put these mats on the floor as well. So you can have a musical mat. So as they listen to music, they dance around the mat. So here we have maybe 6 pockets, 6 students, they dance around. When you stop the music, okay, you call out red pocket. And the student who's standing next to the red pocket must pick out the flashcard, hold it up, say, what's this? All the other students must reply, it's a cat, or it's a dog, etc. Play the music again, they dance around and repeat. You might have a number game, so you might have a dice, so you number each pocket 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You roll a dice, okay, for example, number 1, and then the students count out the numbers. So they move to each pocket, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example. They might roll a 4, they count out 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they pick the flashcard out that's by number 4 pocket. Okay, so nice way to manage different activities, really super easy. If you're interested about those puppet ideas or mat ideas, they all come from this Ferris wheel series behind me. So get in touch with us. I'll give you an email at the end if you want to find out more about those. And very quickly, finally, last couple of minutes, digital, some of us will have digital software and tools to help us, and this can be very, very effective to help us manage our classroom and our students. So for example, with the Ferris wheel series behind me, they have a platform called Navio. And with Navio, you can customize your lessons. So for example, you can choose the types of activity you want to do in your lesson. So today you want to do the song, you want to do the listening, and you want to do the chant activity. All the other activities you can hide. So as you're using, for example, an interactive whiteboard, just those 3 activities will come up today, and you can just click them one by one and they'll come up one by one with all the audio, the video, etc. Brilliant, so easy. Again, classroom management at your fingertips. Again, if you want to find out more about that Navio system, do get in touch with us. Some of you might also have a timer or a pen or a mask tool. So a mask tool is where you just maybe hide some of the page of the lesson on the projector or the interactive whiteboard. You just show them a little bit of the page. The students have to tell you what they can see, or they have to guess what's around it, maybe what's hiding around it. If you've got a timer, that's brilliant to getting them into groups. Set them a time limit to getting into groups, or for getting their materials, set them a time countdown challenge. And as I mentioned, this Navio reward, Navio system also comes with an inbuilt rewards and grouping. So you can automatically put students into one whole group, into 2 groups, into 3 groups, into 4 groups by dragging and dropping the different students, okay? And then you can click on different students or different groups, and you can award them points. You can see at the bottom, little green plus there, and you can award different students points. And at the end of the class, you can see how many points each group has got. Again, classroom management at your fingertips if you're lucky enough to have that. Finally, last minute, just want to talk about self-management for children, but also for us as teachers. Over time, it's good to work on the children's self-management. It will take a little bit of time, but over time we can really support them, help train them with maybe calming down, maybe through breathing routines, maybe through a sitting technique. So that's, for example, where you sit down very slowly, and as you sit down really slowly, you count down from 5 or 10. So it may be a case of, okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And hopefully they'll copy and sit down with you. Get slower and slower and slower. Calm them down, calm them down. You might also want to have a peace corner. So set up a little corner where students, if they're overly hyperactive, they can go and sit, maybe read a book, or put on some headphones, listen to some calm music and calm down a little bit. All right. A couple of calming techniques or transitions, little chants maybe. So you sing this one to, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hand. So put your fingers on your lips, shh, shh. Put your finger on your lips, shh, shh. Put your finger on your lips and don't let it slip. Put your finger on your lips, shh, shh. Okay, little way to help them sort of calm down or to be quiet. All right. Or a little calming technique here as well, sung to Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, dormez-vous, listen well, okay? Little calming techniques to help calm down your students. And finally, for you as a teacher, it's very tiring teaching very young learners. We put a lot of energy into our lessons, the activities. It can be exhausting, right? Especially on Saturday and Sunday if we have back-to-back classes. So think about taking some time out before or after class. Maybe just 10 deep breaths, okay? Think about your lesson, clear your mind before you go into class. During class, you may have something called a full stop. So maybe at the end of the class, you might just take some time to collect your thoughts, do some breathing activities, look after yourself. So a full stop maybe at the end of the class, for example, and then a comma, maybe a smaller, shorter breathing routine. Just in between different activities, maybe as you're transitioning, or maybe they're doing a quiet downtime activity. Just collect your thoughts, give your brain, give your body a break. Okay, look after yourself as well. Be mindful of your own energy and of your mental well-being. Okay, so thanks very much. I hope that was useful. There's so many ideas there. Classroom management is such a big area. Let me know, which idea would you like to try out today or next week? Which one did you like today? Let me know. We'll share the recording of this video so you can watch back or share with your colleagues as well. So circle time. All right. The songs, yeah, get all those songs, as many chants and songs as you can. All right. The train transition, yeah, try it out. Get your choo-choo train going. The puppets, okay, brilliant. All right, well, good luck with trying those activities out. We really appreciate your feedback. I know we've come to the end of this webinar series for Asia. Do let us know. Give me some feedback. Hopefully we can do some more of these, both online and hopefully face-to-face at some point this year. Give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. We take your feedback very seriously. I think on that feedback, you can let us know your challenges as well, and that'll help us plan topics for the future as well. If you want to find out any more, for example, about what you've seen today, for example, puppet activities or the mat or Ferris wheel, drop us an email and we can share more links with you as well. Okay, so do give us your feedback. That will be most appreciated. Good luck for those who are still online. Like you said, you're still missing your kids. I hope you get back into your classroom soon. For those tuning in maybe from Vietnam, I know you're slowly going back to school. That's fantastic. Good luck with your transition back to school, and anyone else out there moving back to face-to-face learning. Best of luck. I hope you can use those activities as and when you go back, or maybe even online as well. All right. If there are any questions out there as well, I think we'll stay around for another couple of minutes for those who want to stay around. We'll do a little bit of a Q&A. I think I've got a few questions coming through. We will share the video. A lot of you are asking for the PPT. We'll share the video with you so you can watch that back again in your own time and skip through to sections that you like. Okay, if there are any other questions, do let me know. And for those who want to stay around, feel free to ask any questions. And for those that want to get off for lunch, like Sparky, then good luck and have a nice lunch, okay, for you. All right. So the digital platform was called Davao. Davao sounds like a place in the Philippines, isn't it? The digital platform was Navio. Okay, I'm sure we can type that, can't we, in the box? I can do that in the box. So Cindy, actually, yeah, Navio comes with, so for example, Ferris wheel is a course. So Navio will come free with that course if you're using that course, okay? So what is the ideal time proportion for circle time, table time, closing time, okay? So let's talk about it in percentage. I don't know how long is your class, but you might have a kind of a sort of a 30% of the time circle time. You might have a sort of a 30 to 50% maybe with the table time or the book activities, and then maybe you'll have a 20% for maybe learning review, and closing time at the end. Okay. But I mean, never underestimate the power of recycling and circle time. It's so important. Okay, you may even want to extend that circle time as well, but try it out. See how it goes. If you feel your students are getting bored quickly with your circle time, you might want to transition to table time a bit quicker, and then come back to circle time afterwards. Do a few more circle time activities. Just be responsive. Okay. All right. So management for online classes. Yeah, classroom management, obviously much more tricky online. But what I suggest for you, if you're teaching online, have a look at those activities we do, see which ones may be applicable. I think certainly using the puppets might be applicable for you. If you've got like a mat or some kind of board that you can put flashcards on, you could use some of those wheel mat activities, maybe pasting flashcards on a board. You could number flashcards, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a wheel on a whiteboard, for example, and manage activities that way. But I would suggest for you, go back, have a look at the session, think about which ones you think you could adapt for online teaching. But Puppet's definitely a brilliant way for online teaching. Okay. All right then, have a great day. Good luck to everyone, and hope to see you online or face-to-face in the future very soon. So have a fantastic Tuesday, and look forward to seeing you soon. So goodbye from me, and goodbye from Sparky. See ya. Bye.